Hi, and welcome to the Book Beat, where we feature authors talking about their latest books and guest experts in the world of writing and publishing. And more than that, what we want you to do is find a good book to read this week. And if you can't find one, seriously think, as our guests have done today, about writing that book yourself. So I'm Jean Noel Bassior, and I have two fabulous guests today. We have Esther van der Werf with us, and she's the author of two books, Read Without Glasses at Any Age, The Natural Method to Near Vision Clarity. That's her latest book. And she also wrote Bates Method Nuggets, The Fundamentals of Natural Vision Improvement. And this is all about the Bates system of eye improvement, which is really something fascinating. If you haven't heard about this, and if your vision is not 20/20, you're going to be really fascinated by what Esther has to say. And we have Kathy Groover. She'll be joining us in the next segment. And her latest book is Conquer Your Stress with Mind-Body Techniques. And she is also the author of The Alternative Medicine Cabinet. So let's start out with Esther here, who grew up in the Netherlands, which is Holland, right? And Esther van der Werf there enjoyed excellent eyesight until her late teens, when her vision changed to slightly myopic. So she went to the optometrist and she got a prescription for glasses, which she did not particularly like. And I really love what you say about glasses because I felt exactly the same way. You felt that they kind of separate you from the world, right? So like you felt more like an observer than a participant.
That's right, I did.
That's exactly what I felt about glasses, too. So she cunningly lost them to the great dismay of her parents. Clever. That was way to go. So you had glasses for 16 years? And
No,
then
I did not. I had them for a few months.
For a few months?
But I had blurry vision for 16 years.
Oh, okay. So you just kind of...
I just
you
lived in the blurry world without the glasses.
You never found those glasses again.
No.
And so how did you discover the Bates system, and tell us what the Bates system is, but what happened? You found a book, right?
First, I read a newspaper article about the Bates system, and that recommended a book. And I bought the book, tried the exercises that it was giving me in there, and I think I misunderstood it, but whatever, I didn't do very well with that at all.
This was the Tom Quackenbush book, right?
No, this is a book before that.
Oh, before that?
This is in my 20s.
Oh, okay.
And then several years later, in my 30s, I found Tom's book, Relearning to See. And by then, of course, I was skeptical because I failed with the first book. So I was like, is this really going to work? And that's a silly question to ask an author.
Yeah.
But Tom said, well, you either read my book or you come to my class, you'll find out. I ended up choosing just to buy the book, not to do the class. And months later, I actually got around to reading the book. And to my surprise, it said that it was all about relaxing the eyes. It was not about eye exercises. And so for a few weeks, I tried everything in the book, and within 2 weeks, I was back to 20/20 vision.
That is amazing. So how do you relax the eyes?
That's the billion-dollar question.
It is. It fascinates me about you, though. See, because some people, and I know this from personal experience, because I've gotten some success from Bates, but you achieved this success in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So you must have done something that I'm not doing, and I know that there may be people out there who have tried the Bates system, but do you have any idea how to describe what you did that actually really did relax your eyes?
I learned to stop staring and start blinking. For me, that made the biggest difference. I was very, very good at staring until that point, and found out that was a huge strain, according to the book, and my eyes didn't like that. So when I learned to recognize the moments when I fell into that staring habit, and every time I found myself staring and just parking my eyes somewhere, I would catch that and then go back to blinking and letting my eyes move around.
So you were like consciously blinking?
Yes. In the beginning, you have to consciously blink until it becomes a habit again. Now I don't think about it, and I blink more than most everybody else.
So do you think that was really the key to your success with Bates, with the Bates system?
For me, that was the big key to it, yes.
So let's talk about Dr. Bates, because the other thing that you've done, which for you know, we have a lot of authors who listen to the show and people who want to write books. And your first book is pretty amazing because you actually researched Dr. Bates's work. Tell us about Dr. Bates and who he was.
Dr. Bates was an ophthalmologist in New York. He lived about 100 years ago, died in 1931.
And he was an MD, right?
Yes.
An eye surgeon.
Eye surgeon.
Yeah.
Yes. And he found out that some people would improve without the glasses that he prescribed them. And he was wondering why that happened. And from just wondering why to actually researching it and finding out what the cause was and how he could help them create that change. That's something that hardly anybody had thought about. And he was, I think, the pioneer in this field of learning how you can help people improve their eyesight through relaxing the muscles around the eyes.
And he was a real maverick, wasn't he?
Yes, yeah, definitely. A unique man, very special, I think. Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about the Bates system, because I know a lot of times when I tell people about it, they say, oh, it's like eye exercises, and they think they're going to be looking up, looking down to the side, you know. But it's not that, is it?
It's not. No, I always point that out to people because that idea of eye exercises is absolutely wrong. Bates never did eye exercises. What he did teach is how to move the eyes without the strain, whereas eye exercises tends to be eye movement with strain. And learning to do it without the strain is the big key. So the relaxation of the muscles around the eyes allow the eyes to get back to a regular shape and therefore have a clear image again.
Because when those muscles are pressing, when you're tense, are you saying that when you're straining or you're staring or causing tension, what happens to the muscles around the eyes?
Well, any tension on those muscles creates a pressure on the eyeball, and the eyeball can be compared to a rubber ball. And a rubber ball, if you put some pressure on it, it will change shape. Let go of the pressure, the rubber ball comes back to nice and round. And the same happens with the eyes. If you learn to let go of the pressure of those muscles, learn to let them be nice and relaxed the way they're meant to be, then the eyeball comes back to a round shape and the picture improves.
Because when the eyeball is the proper shape, then how does that affect the light that comes in? Isn't that why we want it?
Yeah, it's all about optics.
Yeah.
And, so the way the light comes in through your cornea, which is the outermost layer of the eye, and then through the lens, if those are misshapen through pressure on the eyeball, then the light that comes in doesn't focus correctly on the back of the eye, on the retina.
Becomes diffused or,
yeah,
right?
And that can happen in various ways. Various strains create various blurry forms. So depending on which strain is happening, you need to learn to release that specific strain for your condition. And then clarity comes back.
Right. So I know that it sounds like you're saying that the common belief that if your vision is bad, that you have to get measured for glasses. And now we're not talking about serious eye disease at this point, although I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But because I know you have worked with eye diseases. But the ordinary person that gets glasses, and then usually you hear like, well, my glasses are too weak, so I went, to the optometrist because, you keep getting stronger and stronger glasses each time you go, right? It's like you kind of wear them out and, So is that the way it should be, or do you think it should be different?
I think it's absolutely not the way it should be. But it does happen that way a lot. If you start wearing glasses, then the glasses create extra strain because glasses have an optical center. If you look straight through the center of the glasses, that's where you're designed to see best. But your eyes move. They don't stay straight ahead all the time. They move. So at some point, they'll look through the edges of the glasses. And there the vision will not be as good. So you're going to end up either trying to squint to see through the edges of the glass or to try and keep your eyes in that center and start moving your head unnaturally. And either way is more strain for your eyes. That's not the way they naturally move. It's not the way they naturally see. So the glasses add strain and therefore cause blurry vision down the line, and therefore the need for stronger glasses over time.
But with the Bates system, they're kind of saying it doesn't have to be like that, right?
No, exactly. If you avoid the glasses in the first place, or go back to a lower prescription if necessary, but if you avoid them in the first place, then chances are very good that you can get back to clarity in a short period of time.
which is what you did, avoiding them for 16 years. And
Yes.
then suddenly, but I am fascinated by how you suddenly did this in 2 weeks, because not everybody does it in 2 weeks. So
No.
besides the blinking, was there anything else that you think you did to allow, a better word than make, to allow the bait system to work for you?
I think it's a mental shift that I made. Instead of trying to see and always making an effort to see better because it was always blurry, I stopped that effort. I stopped trying. I became more friends with the blurry vision that I had and allowed it to just be there without fighting it on any level. And as I allowed it to be there and didn't fight in any way against it, it started to release. And the more that you can allow your blurry vision to just be there without fighting it, the sooner it disappears.
Because you're not stressing or tensing?
Yeah, that mental strain is gone. And so the mental strain is usually the start of the physical strain of the squinting and all the effort that we make to see. So if you can let that go and be okay with your blurry vision for a moment and say, okay, so this blurry vision is trying to tell me something about my eyesight. If you can do that and sit with it and listen to that message that the blurry vision's been trying to give you, then things can change.
Is there an exercise that people could do who are just hearing this program and want to try something, easy at home, kind of?
The very easy one?
Yeah.
The most popular one is called palming. And that's one where you close your eyes and you cover them with the palms of your hands. So basically the center of the palm will go over the center of the eyes. You do both eyes. You close your eyes underneath there. Make sure most of the light is excluded. And you allow your eyes to rest like that. And in the time that you're doing this and you're keeping your eyes closed, the darkness is a rest for your eyes. But also the fact that there is absolutely nothing to see is like a message for the brain going back to the muscles, saying there's absolutely nothing for those muscles to do at the moment. This is a perfect time for relaxation. So the darkness, the fact that your hands are covering your eyes, so even if you were to open your eyes, it's still dark, still nothing to see. So it's a perfect time for relaxation, and allowing yourself to just sit there 5 minutes, 10 minutes, longer, will get that level of relaxation to deepen. And the deeper it goes, and the more that you can then keep that relaxation afterwards, the better you'll see.
Now, is this cumulative? Like if you palm for a few minutes every day, will the eyes kind of learn to relax or remember that feeling, sort of?
I think so, yes. If you get very comfortable with palming, you do it a lot, then at some point, even just the thought of palming will help you relax.
So the eyes will just remember what it feels like when you palm, and from that thought, just pick it up.
Pick it up and get back to that level of relaxation.
Now, when you sent me some of your materials, because I know your story pretty well, but I remember when you had a tragedy in your family, your niece passed away.
Yes.
And I remember when that happened a few years ago, but I didn't realize that had an effect on your vision, right?
It did.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, basically, I think the stress from watching my niece get ill, be in hospital for 8 months, she had leukemia, and the worry about it all, and talking to my parents every day, getting the news from my sister on how she was doing, and all the chemotherapy she was going through. The stress was incredible. And I found that as the months went by and the hope of her getting better was reducing and reducing, I just put that stress in my eyes, which most vision teachers probably do, because we all come to this profession because we cured our own eyesight, which means we all had a tendency to put stress in our eyes.
That's true.
So,
did you panic when that happened? Because like, oh my God, I'm a Bates eye teacher. Here's my vision kind of going. Like
it wasn't panic. It was definitely a little worrying, but it wasn't panic. I just knew that it was the stress, but I also knew there was very little I could do about it at that time. I just had to go with it and say, okay, when this is all done, I'll take care of myself. But right now, I could barely concentrate. I could barely read. Everything, even at arm's length, was getting so blurry I could barely read.
So it was starting to affect your...
It was affecting my near vision, which is opposite from what it had done before.
Right.
So it was an interesting self-study that went on.
Well, yeah, that was interesting because I read what you did. Tell us what you did to heal yourself.
Well, after she finally, unfortunately, died, and I got home and kind of relaxed for a month or so, I realized it was time to really take care of my own vision. I then ended up doing a palming session, and I gave myself a whole day. I said, okay, however long it takes, I'm going to just sit today, switch off the phone, put on some good music, and I'll just palm until I feel better. And I ended up doing 6 hours of palming that day.
Wow.
It's my longest session. I've never done that long.
And what happened?
Well, the first 3 hours were crying. A box of tissues next to me, working through emotions, basically. And after about 3 hours, I calmed down. It seemed like I ran out of tears and just felt better and better, and the calmness just came back. And I ended up doing a total of 6 hours, and at that point I felt so good, so relaxed, so I've let go of everything. And so I then ended the palming session and found it made a huge difference, and that reading was so much easier again. It wasn't totally clear yet, but it was here at arm's length. Everything was totally clear. It's just the nearer point still needed a bit of work, but it made a huge difference.
So basically that kind of allowed you to turn the corner and really
Yes.
did start to heal your eyes,
Yes.
right? Because when I read that, palming seems like such a small thing, but the fact that you really started to reverse that situation was very impressive with all,
Yeah.
turning to palming for that.
I think palming is the best thing. I spoke to a colleague this weekend. She had a retinal tear. She just had a diagnosis of terminal cancer for her father and has been under stress for that reason, and found that in her right eye suddenly there was a blurry patch, and it turned out it was a retinal tear. She went to an ophthalmologist to have it checked. And the ophthalmologist, of course, said, we should laser this right now. And she, being a Bates teacher, said, not today. Let's wait a few days. And she called me and said, what would you do? And I said, I would palm for as long as it took. And I'd probably go out in nature and take a walk and just, be in fresh air, be in sunlight, and just relax this weekend. And she did that, and she let me know this morning that she went back to the ophthalmologist this morning, who could no longer find the tear.
Really? How interesting.
So
wow.
Palming is just amazing. This weekend she did 2 sessions of, I think, 5 hours and 4 hours.
Wow.
To help herself. She went out walking on the beach, and palming, it can be an amazing thing for your eyes.
So, and I know that this does work. I used to wear contacts, and then when I did the Bates system, I was able to see 20/20 in good light without my contacts eventually, studying with you and another teacher. And but night vision, are there any special challenges with night vision, or is it just kind of all the same thing?
I think night vision is usually the last to clear up, because your daytime vision can already be fairly good, because in sunlight your pupils narrow down. At night they don't do that. The pupils stay larger, so any amount of blurry vision you have, even if it's just slightly, seems to be magnified at night. And so at night, it's the last thing to clear up. You have to get back to 2015 vision in the daytime for the nighttime to be 2020.
But it's basically the same principles, right?
Yes.
Yes. So let's talk about your books, because, for authors listening or people who want to write a book, it was really fascinating. I watched Esther as she prepared to write her first book, and you had researched Dr. Bates's papers, right?
Yes.
Which were public domain, right? They were in public domain. Yeah. So you gathered, what did you do? Tell us how you put the first book together.
That was quite a project, a 7-month project of going through the Better Eyesight magazines. Dr. Bates, for about 11 years, published a monthly magazine called Better Eyesight.
Better Eyesight back in the 20s, right?
1920s, yeah. All the way till 1931 was the last issue. And so there's 11 years of monthly magazines, and they were published or kind of photocopied from, I believe, the Library of Congress collection that was still there. And I had those photocopies on my computer. But of course, being photos, they're hard to read and you can't search through them very easily. So I put them through an optical character reader, made them into Word text, went through all this Word text, took out all the mistakes that the optical character reader had made. And it basically took me 7 months to go through the whole series and make it into a regular Word document.
But what are, you distilled, I think, the best of Bates in this book so that somebody, it's very easy, very simple. What are some of the issues that you cover in that book?
Well, basically, in one of the magazines, Bates wrote that for the people that subscribed, he heard that some of them would throw the magazine away afterwards. He didn't like that. And he said, well, if at least from every magazine you should keep page 2. And I thought, wonder why he says that. So I went looking at these page 2s, and they all had the practical tip of the month type of thing. Mm-hmm. And I thought, this is great. So I looked at all these page 2s, spread them out over the floor in my apartment, and sorted them by topic. And as I sorted them by topic, they sort of became little chapters of their own. Mm-hmm. And I think at that time I showed it to you.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I said, look what I've got. This is fantastic material.
Yeah.
And you said, that should be a book.
Did I say that? Oh.
Yes, it was you.
It was a good idea. And it does seem to distill the essence of it. So if you're new to the Bates system from this book, self-published, which is, really was the way for you to go, because you didn't have to.
It's a niche market.
Yeah, it's a niche market. What's actually it could be a huge market.
It could be huge,
right?
But the amount of people that know about the Bates method and are interested enough to really want to know the original writings from Dr. Bates.
So why don't people know about this? If this really works the way we're saying it, why don't people know about this?
I think it's mostly because eye doctors don't know about it. They will have heard about it in their training, but they've usually been told, don't waste your time on this. This is not, it's not working. It's quackery. Don't bother putting any time and effort into the Bates method.
Plus, it would put them out of business unless they became Bates teachers or just kept, a niche business for people who needed glasses for some reason, right?
Right. Well, the optical, the School for Optometry and Ophthalmology, they're very much into the medical system, giving glasses, doing surgeries, and all that. And this is a very different system that basically wants to move away from that. And so as an eye doctor, if you want to move in and become an ophthalmologist or an optometrist, then this seems to be a bit of a waste of time because it's taking you off track. Mm-hmm. And that's what you get told too. I remember one optometrist friend telling me that in his years in school, the dean of the school came one day and had a special talk for everybody, talking about things like the Bates method and how they shouldn't waste their time doing that.
Quackery, charlatans.
Yes, unfortunately. So they get discouraged from even looking into it. Mm-hmm. And the few that do love it, I know several optometrists and ophthalmologists who enjoy teaching the Bates method and using it as an extra in their work. But most of them don't even bother learning. So
right.
That's a shame.
Well, and some are open because one of them actually wrote the foreword to your second book, right?
That's right.
Is that Gottlieb that did that?
Yeah, Dr. Ray Gottlieb.
Yeah. So let's talk about the second book, your book that's just out. And this is especially for people who feel like they're getting too farsighted and can't need reading glasses, right?
Exactly.
And so this is a big shock that you maybe don't really need reading glasses, right?
Well, Dr. Bates himself used reading glasses for some time, which is very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Until one day a friend of his says, well, I don't get this. He says, you shout about how people should take their glasses off and not ever use them, but you use glasses yourself. Huh. But Bates at that time thought that his method worked basically for myopia, for nearsightedness, but not for presbyopia. But he did feel the truth of those words from his friend, and he was like, I really should do something about this. So he went and started to ask around to see if anybody knew how to cure presbyopia. And he went to one of his famous colleagues and said, who should I go see? And that doctor said, well, come back in a week and I'll see if I can find anybody. And he went back in a week and that doctor says, well, there's only one person that might know anything about it, and that's you.
Darn. I hate when that happens.
Yes. So he was basically thrown back on his own resources, as he said, and started studying it himself. Was helped by a friend of his that he taught that man to use a retinoscope. This wasn't an eye doctor, but it was a priest of some sort. And he taught that man to use a retinoscope and to check Bates's own eyes as he was trying to focus up close. And so he found that as he tried to focus up close, he actually was focusing for distant. and he had to figure out how to get it back to the close vision.
And it was the same principle, right? It was like his eyes were not relaxed.
That's right.
Is that
Yeah.
what he eventually came to?
Yes, he found that he was straining to see up close, and if he used his imagination and imagined that he was looking at something like in smaller detail, he used the picture of the Rock of Gibraltar, which had some black gaps in it that he pretended were caves, and there were these tiny people walking into the caves. And as he used his imagination, going for smaller and smaller detail, his eyes began to focus. And so he realized that, okay, there is a change that's possible, and it's just all in my mind.
I think it is all in the mind, because that's one thing that I've noticed working with Bates, is that imagination and what you close your eyes and visualize, for me at least, has been really important. Like if I look at a letter or a sign and, like you said, allow it to be blurry, but then close my eyes, and I know Dr. Bates said, imagine it or imagine the letters, or if I do that, I open my eyes and it is clear again.
Yes.
So it's really remarkable.
Yeah.
So we have a few more minutes, but let's make sure we get in how people can get in touch with you.
I have a website,
Okay.
visionsofjoy.org or .com. They both go to the same place, Visions of Joy. And I live in Ojai, California. And you can email me and phone me and contact me through the website. That's the easiest way.
And you give private lessons, right?
I do.
Okay.
I give private lessons. I do seminars at conferences. I've just got back from Italy, where I was teaching at the International Holistic Vision Conference. So I do workshops for teachers too, but for individuals, sometimes I do group classes. I even have an email course for people that can't come to me, or help people through Skype.
And they can learn through email, actually, through the...
That was a surprise for me. The first person that I helped that way was somebody who was deaf and lived on the East Coast. And I was like, oh, how am I going to teach this man? And he really wanted me to teach him, because he'd been to a class where there was a sign language interpreter that helped him understand what I was saying. And somehow on his way home, he had lost his glasses or broke them or something. And then he wrote to me saying, please teach me. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? And so because of him being deaf and being so far away from me, I ended up writing it down.
Wow.
And that was 6-7 years ago. And since then, that email course has developed and grown, and it's been helping quite a few people.
That's really amazing. And I know you have worked with eye diseases as well, right?
A little bit.
Bit.
I think the Bates method works best for the functional problems,
Right.
the nearsightedness, farsightedness, astigmatism, presbyopia, strabismus, the problems that are pure muscle problems. That's where it works best.
That's best, yeah.
Yet the eye diseases, they also need the muscles to be relaxed, because relaxed muscles around the eyes give a better shape, therefore more circulation of blood, and therefore better chance of healing. So it's certainly worth doing the Bates method, no matter what's wrong with your eyes. That's my opinion.
Yes, and I know you've had a bit of success with that as well. So how can people get the books?
Again, through my website and through Amazon.com.
They're on Amazon.
They're on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And say your website one more time.
Visionsofjoy.org.
Thank you, Esther van der Werf.
Thank you,
It's been
Suzanne.
wonderful having you on the show.